Reformation, good evening. How are you? And Monique, happy Sabbath to all the wonderful
happy
evening.
Sabbath, Reformation.
Yes, happy
Monique.
Sabbath to you guys as well. So, lively topic, hot topic tonight. So we've got something that I'm sure you guys will love. And we're going to love your guys' responses to it. And your extra verses. Now, I got the Strongs. You guys recognize yep. So we're going to be looking at the verses through the Strongs. There's like 100 verses in the Strongs, but we're not going to go through all those. But we're going to go through the key ones, and we're going to talk about actually alcohol a little bit tonight. We're going to talk about should Christians drink alcohol. I made a couple shorts. Didn't realize it was such a hot topic. I just kind of wanted to just put that out there one day because I had a little conversation with a fellow Adventist, and they think it's okay to drink wine. Okay, well, they used Ephesians to show that, and so have other people. And I just wanted to kind of go through, talk about that. And there was another thing that was used as well. Liza, good evening. Happy Sabbath.
Liza.
And, oh, by the way, there's my wife. You guys haven't seen her yet. It's not.
I'm all sunburned.
Yeah, we've been
my
on the river all day.
Everything. Yeah, we've been out fishing all day long.
Yeah.
We didn't catch anything.
Yes, I did. I caught a little fish that big.
Sorry, he did.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a throwback.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, I throw them all back. But, I mean, a fish is a fish, right? So, all right. So we're going to get into it. The verse was straining gnats and swallowing a camel. And now that was used to suggest that the Sabbath topic was straining gnats. Okay. So we might touch on that a little bit. When people say stuff like that, it really cracks me up. And it forces a response because others will probably read that and they will think in their mind, well, boy, he sure got him with that comment. And I don't want that to be as such. The idea that the Sabbath is straining gnats while swallowing the camel is indicative of the weightier matters of the law, like the Sabbath is less than a weightier matter, and that's compared to gnats, whereas loving and being kind to one another is the weightier matters of the law. Anyways, I'll read the verse. Jesus said it, and we'll talk about that. So, yeah, that would have fed one person. That's right. Exactly. If we were hungry, that would have been something. Now, learning to fly fish is something that, I've been trying to fly fish, and I haven't really done that well at it. But recently I've been catching fish, and
Hi, Stacy.
It's interesting because...
Tracy, I meant.
Yes, Tracy Brunson. Good evening, Tracy.
I don't know why I said that.
And happy Sabbath. But yeah, catching fish on a fly rod is a little different because it's there's techniques and stuff that are a little different than regular fishing, but I'm learning it. And
so I use a spinner. That's what I use. And I usually catch fish. I've been fishing ever since I was young, though. But I'm like a guy. I tread in the water and jump on the rocks and hop over there. I guess I'm going to be 55. I don't ever think about breaking my leg. But anyways, this morning we left here at 6:30. We drove 3 miles to the Missouri, and then we walked in about 1.25 miles. You can't drive in there anymore. Hi, Linda. And anyways, it was so beautiful because we have all the birds. They're all coming together to make nests. We have thousands of honkers of we have
Canadian geese.
We have the Canadian geese, and they're all squawking. And then we had some pelicans. We had some. There always surprises me that there's a lot of ospreys and eagles that are brown. They don't have the black feathers and the white head yet. And I'm trying to think. We have the I'm trying to think of the name. The pheasants.
Yes.
There's all this stuff. There's thousands
wildlife.
of
We have
blackbirds.
moose. We have deer. We have
The moose are something to be scared about right now because of all the The willows, we have those real tall willows that you make the baskets with. A lot of people make baskets over here. And yeah, they eat those.
And you could be right next to the moose and not know it.
You can't hear them. And then trying to think of what else. But anyways, there was so many birds this morning, and I actually recorded it. And then I haven't talked to my aunt and my uncle. They think I was a dirty little girl. I used to sleep in the dog boxes. My brothers used to hunt, and I would sleep in the dog boxes and pick the ticks off the puppies, and and I was always in there. But anyways, yeah, so they always like, ew. And so I grew up, and I finally talked to them today. They want to come up and visit me, so that'd be wonderful.
Yep, Big Sky, Montana.
Big Sky, Montana, yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, let's get into our topic. Let's bow our heads and pray, okay, and invite the Lord into it, because without him, it's just us, and that's not good. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much, Father, for your loving kindness in our lives and the great plan of redemption that you have brought forth to save us. Lord, we are humbled in the sight of your almighty power. And we just ask, Lord, that you'll join us this evening as we open your word, that you'll cleanse our hearts and our minds and help this conversation to remain holy. And we pray this in your heavenly name. Amen. Okay. All right, guys. So, all right, here we go. We're going to be talking about, first of all, should Christians consume alcohol? And you guys have probably watched those couple of shorts that I did. Now, we're going to be just going through these verses. I have my Strongs. I made a whole bunch of markers in here. My phone's already beeping, which tells me I got 20%. That's plenty. And
yes, Liza, we do eat fish.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, not very often. We'll eat it. I might eat it maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. Yeah. But the main thing is it's just getting out, seeing nature. It's relaxing. It gets your mind off of stuff.
If we get enough, I do the little tiny jars, and I'll pressure cook them. It takes hours, but we'll season them up, and we'll put them in those little tiny jars. And I'll process them. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun, and it's I'll let most of my fish go. I caught a really big one earlier this year, and I let it go, and Lisa didn't even get a chance to see it, but I did take a picture of it. So, all right. So in the Bible, when we're talking about wine, obviously you guys know the difference. There's 2 types of wine in the Bible. Now, in the Hebrew, there's 2 main words. It's oinos and yayin. The oinos, maybe I got that wrong. No, oinos is a Greek word. I'm sorry. The oinos is a Greek word. It's Anointing?
a generic word for both types of wine.
Oh.
It can be used for new wine or old wine. The new wine is the fresh squeezed grape juice, and the old wine is something. It's grape juice that's been fermented. It's gone through the process of fermentation, and it's my contention that it's no good for us. Okay, and we're going to learn in the Bible, and of course we can take one verse, and we can stumble on one verse. Or we can take the preponderance of the evidence of the whole Bible, because everything is in context. We know this. A lot of people don't. And so it has to be said over and over again that when you read the Bible, it has to be taken into context. Now, in Leviticus chapter 10 and in let's start with verse 8. Leviticus 10, verse 8. God speaks unto Aaron, because Aaron is the acting priest at the time. There was Moses and Aaron. Aaron was representative of the priesthood at that point. And God told Aaron not to drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, okay? And it says, and that ye may put difference between the holy and the unholy, and between the unclean and the clean. In other words, if you get drunk, if you get inebriated, then your mind might not be able to respect God's holy things. Good evening, Spunky. Nice to have you here with us.
Nice to see you, Spunky. Is that when the sons came in and they...
Exactly, Lisa. And you guys remember the two sons? Their names, I want to say Phineas, but I don't remember.
It sounds like that. I know. I can't remember.
Okay, so there's two sons. They were the acting priests
sons.
under Eli.
Sons. Yeah.
And they drank wine, and they offered strange fire on the altar, and they were both killed. Now,
wait. So fire could be doctrine.
Oh, you're going into typology. Oh, well, yeah, of course, Lisa. Yeah, I mean, so fire is judgment, right?
Judgment.
Yes, fire is generally judgment when you see fire. And it's also the Holy Spirit. Now, of course, it's God who enacts the judgment. It says God is a consuming fire. And so, the righteous will live amongst the fire. The wicked will be burned up. So God, in essence, by purifying us, makes us fireproof. So it's the righteous that burn forever, not the wicked. Abihu, thank you. That was it. Yes. Thank you for that. Okay, so and that was in Leviticus. Now we've got a long list, and I mean to tell you, it goes, if you guys can see my paper, it goes all the way down here, and it goes up to the top of the page, all the way down, then up to the top of the page. And okay, so we're gonna jump through these as and the distinction here is this. Okay, so if you guys know anything about the Strongs, they're in Genesis 9:21. Okay, you guys remember the story when Noah planted a vineyard and he grew grapes. Okay, and what did he do with those grapes? He made wine, and obviously that he fermented it because he became intoxicated. And you guys know the story. I mean, when he awoke, his son did something terrible. What exactly that was, the Bible's somewhat anonymous about, which is fine with me. I don't need to know more details. But it says that he looked upon his father's nakedness. Now, there's a verse somewhere in Deuteronomy, and if I could probably find it if I looked it up. It's not really pertinent to what we're talking about. But there's a verse in Deuteronomy that talks about if you see your mother's nakedness, you've uncovered your father's nakedness. It's possible that one of the sons did something terrible, and we don't know what. We just know it was terrible. And it was because Noah was compromised. His judgment and his alertness was compromised. And as he slept, his son, as they say, when the cats are away, the mice will play. So bad things happened, and this was Noah not offering proper protection, I believe, right? Now, that's in Genesis 9. And then that wine, if you guys know anything about the Strongs, now they'll give you a number right next to the verse there, and that number is 3196. Now let's look what kind of wine that was in the Greek. We'll look at the actual word here, 3196 in the Hebrew. Did I say Greek? 3196. Here we go. So that wine was the yayin, and that yayin, incidentally, was the fermented version of the wine, okay? And that was, let's see if I can read this, from an unused root to mean the effervescence, wine, fermented, by implication, intoxication, banqueting, wine bibber. Okay, so that's the definition of the Hebrew word yayin, okay? All right, so here's, now, let's go a little deeper. Now, there's two types of wine mentioned. Now, there was also 8492. When you look at Genesis 27:28 there, the earth, plenty of corn and wine, okay? And it's describing a land there. And it says 84:92 is the reference. I hope this isn't too boring for some of you guys. 84:92, the dogs are practicing their Tourette's again. 8492, right here. All right, so this is 8492. Tirosh is the word for the new wine, the non-fermented version, tirosh. And that's from or in sense of expulsion, must be fresh grape juice, just squeezed out, or implication is rarely, the implication is that it's rarely fermented wine. It is used almost always in the new or the sweet wine. Okay, so when we're talking about wine in the Bible, there's a distinction. Now, the word, of course, in English is a generic word, just wine. So people can easily confuse that without going to the original text and finding out which one is which. Now, if you go through all of these texts, Phineas and Hophni, yes, Phineas and Hophni, that's right. So thank you, Monique. Yes. World Sci, good evening. Good evening, World Sci. So, so there's a distinction between the new and the old. And that's important because as we read through every single verse, and I would urge anybody struggling with this to do this, but I don't think people really struggle with it is the problem. They're not wrestling with anything. They just decide to accept one verse in the Bible, and that gives them the go ahead, and they go ahead and they, you know, and they partake in wine, which I think is foolish, especially for Christians nowadays. All right. Angina includes loss of breath. Is this what's happening? Talking about Tracy here. You know, angina, I believe, is a chest pain. It's kind of a tightening of the chest. And I've experienced that to some degree. It depends on my diet. If I'm eating a diet heavy in fried foods, I'll get angina.
He gets that from eggs. You get that from eggs.
Yeah, well, anything with cholesterol. Yeah. So, all right. Sorry, I didn't mean to horn in on you guys' conversation there. But I do read every comment, so. So, as we go on here, now we're gonna be talking. I wanted to talk about this just for a second. Right here in Proverbs, in Isaiah 2, seems to really nail down the wine problem. Now we're gonna go into some verses in Proverbs, and we're just gonna read them. Now, if Proverbs is not good enough, like I said, there's like 100 verses here, but for sake of time, I think Proverbs is about the most clear when it talks about it. We're gonna, of course, look up that verse in Ephesians that keeps being brought up over and over again. So it's Proverbs. Let's begin in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 10. Okay, chapter 3, verse 10. Let's talk about that. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Now, in this text, it states clearly that it's talking about new wine. This is the blessings that is brought forth if you honor the Lord with thy substance and thy first fruits of all thine increase. Talking about tithing, actually. And it says that thy barns shall be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Now, that's the first one that we're going to. Now, Proverbs 4:17, if we just scroll right, turn the page, and we go to 4:17 there, they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. That's the wicked. In verse 16, it says, for they sleep not, except that they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. But the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. All right, you guys have heard that verse, I'm sure. Now, the wine of violence. That is an interesting association. Let's go to Proverbs 9:2. So, couple pages over, we're going to go to Proverbs 9. Now, wisdom hath buildeth her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. It's talking about wisdom here. She hath killed her beast. She hath mingled her wine. She hath also furnished her table. She hath set forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. Now, Proverbs 9, let's look that up and see what kind of wine it's talking about, because it's talking about it in positive light here. And that's 3196. Let's check that out. I'm pretty sure that's the fermented wine, actually. And that's why we have to read the Bible in its entirety. 3196 of the Greek. No, of the Hebrew. 3196. Yeah, we already looked up that one. I think that's the yayin of... Where's my marker? Yeah, 31 wine. So that is the fermented wine. And if that was the only one you'd read, then I guess that would throw you off a little bit. Now let's go to 9:5 here. Come eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. That's also the yayin. Proverbs 20, verse 1. Okay, we'll have to scroll over a few. Okay, 20, verse 1. And it immediately goes into a little bit different. And it's interesting, and that would have to be like a study all in and of itself, wouldn't it? Like, why is wisdom mingling like the intoxicating drink? You know, so that would be interesting to dive into that little thing. It's not making it okay to drink the intoxicating drink. It's just making an example of what wisdom is. And it just happens to use the intoxicating drink to describe wisdom. Probably another study. But here in Proverbs 20, it says, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. Whosoever is deceived by there is not wise. All right. Let's go to the next Proverbs, and that would be 21:17. So right down the line here, it says, he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Now, that's setting forth the principle there somewhat, isn't it? And Revelation talks about the wine of the wrath of the God. You definitely don't want that wine. Oh, I wonder what that one comes... Oh, we'll have to look that one up, huh? I stress way too easily nowadays. I get older now and the body's beginning to change. Yes. I've been reading what you're talking about here. Yeah, you know, growing old is not for wussies. I heard that all my life, right?
Rhonda said, where are we in the book?
Where are we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, in what book?
You're just reading out of the Strong's?
I'm reading out of the Strong's, and I'm just looking at Bible verses, so I've looked up the word wine, and I'm just going through some of the references, especially in, the Old Testament, and I'm actually in Proverbs. We just got through looking up Proverbs 21 there, 21:17. We're going to go to Proverbs 23:30 now. Okay, so Proverbs 23:30. So let's back up here actually, because it talks about in verse 29, who hath woe, who hath sorrow, who hath contentions, who hath babbling, who hath wounds without cause, who hath redness of eyes. Now these are all conditions of drunkenness, right? They that tarry long at the wine, and they that go to seek mixed wine. Look not upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth its color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women. Now, of course, we could spiritualize this. This is an interesting little section here, because
strange women.
Exactly, right? So the strange women, a woman is a church. If you mingle strange doctrine, right, the wine of Babylon, you get drunken with that wine, your eyes will behold strange women. You'll go after a strange church, one that has no representation or affiliation with the God of heaven whatsoever. Revelation 14:10 and 16:19. We're going to go to those here in a minute. That wine is in Revelation 14, and nobody wants to partake of that. No. Okay, thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or that he that lieth upon the top of a mast. We all know that feeling. We've all been a little too tipsy. Most of us. I've met people who've never drank. It's not necessary. It's not a rite of passage. In fact, right. I just read a statistic, upwards of 1 in 5 people become alcoholics upon their first drink. Those statistics are staggering, especially when you take how many millions of people are upon the earth, billions of people actually, and all the people that lived in the past, and you look at all the broken marriages, you look at all of the jail sentences, the violent crimes, the deaths related to alcohol, the numbers are staggering. I looked them up just the other day. It's unbelievable. They have stricken me, thou shalt say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I wake? I will seek it yet again. And so there's a principle here, right? The principle is don't look upon it when it's red, when it's bubbling, when it moves itself aright. That's the fermentation process. And so all of these things are telling us, just stay away from it. It's not wise. Wines are called spirits for a reason. Oh, we're going to get into that too. Also, while one person may drink and not get hooked, another only needs one taste to accept that demon of alcoholism. Don't take the risk. That's the point. Why would God say it's okay to drink just a little bit? He's not saying it's okay to drink a little bit. In fact, he's saying the opposite. He's saying don't. It's a little bit like slavery. People have said that God condoned slavery in the Bible because he gives rules to the people about their slaves. Oh, God must approve of slavery, therefore I can't worship a God that approves of slavery. Well, slavery has been a thing since the beginning of time. It still exists today. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. It exists here in America in like grand fashion because you don't really need to like have papers of ownership necessarily, which they do kind of have papers. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Definition of a slave. That'll be a good one. But it's the same thing. But God told the people, look, if you're gonna have slaves, here's what you need to do. You need to release them after 7 years. You need to take care of them. You need to be kind to them. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. The people were going to have slaves no matter what God said, right?
Also, the land. When they would reap from the land, they would let it rest.
That's right. Yeah, a Sabbath.
Sabbath, I guess.
A Sabbath for the land.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for like Liza, what spirits really are.
Oh, yeah. Listen, what was that? And I think you told me this, or was it Levi, that the word al-kahul is an actual demon spirit.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I think you sent me a video or something that in the occult world, kahul is a actual spirit. Al-kahul is the summoning of that spirit through the partaking of wine or strong drink. And that's one of the rituals, by the way, of the occult world. Now, when I was watching, let's take a break from the Strongs here just for a second. We'll talk about the story I'm going to tell you. Good question, Spunky. If wine is okay, then shouldn't coffee be okay? Ooh, now we're really hitting in the old bread basket with that one. Both change within the frontal lobe, yes? That's a question, guys. Now, boy, do we have enough time to cover all this? So anyways, the story went like this. There was a guy that came on 3ABN. He was a martial artist. He studied martial arts. And I found this interesting because Thomas Berry just joined us. Hey, Thomas, how you doing? Good evening. Happy Sabbath. I found this interesting, this story, because he talked about looking for the top tier grand master, whatever you call it, to get to the top. He was very motivated to find the very highest level of martial arts. Okay. And martial arts consists of a lot of meditation sometimes, and you get into the mantra and you do these different things, depending on which type of martial arts, but they all eventually lead there. Now, he found the grandmaster, he found the highest of the high and the best of the best, and he went into the guy's dojo. The guy knew this fella or heard about him, the guy that was seeking the high master. And so he brings him into the back room and he offers him a drink. He says, you want to be the best? You have to summon demons, spirits. That's how we get there. And he offered him a smoke and he offered him a drink and he turned on rock and roll music. This is what the guy said. And it was interesting how they were going to summon the spirits to help them in their martial arts practice through the process of drinking and smoking.
I'm wondering
it's not the first time I've heard that in that ritual of drinking and smoking and music when it came to worshiping demons and stuff of that nature.
I'm wondering about the chai. Like I was going to join online the chai. And all these things like Pilates, chai, trying to think of the other ones, yoga, they're all spiritual. They're all demonically controlled.
Yeah, they're all the body movements, the rhythmic music they put on.
You know, I looked into that, and it's from India, and that's how they move in their to like you said, to be around the spirits. Mm-hmm. It's movements.
Yeah.
Chanting and singing. And,
yeah, well, they would probably
bells.
chant and sing. I guess that's left out in American style, but the music is probably still there. But the movements mimic all those same movements, and yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, so it's so strange. We take it for granted. We got Pilates everywhere now. We have hot Pilates and all these different stuff. We have chai. It's all over my
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi. That's it.
Yeah.
Tai Chi. That's it.
Monique just put that up there. That didn't come from me. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's all over, and who doesn't want to lose weight? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then they're guaranteeing that you'll lose all this weight.
They're inadvertently joining something that is connecting them with a different spirit realm.
But what they don't say is that you need to not maybe just get rid of dinner and maybe just drink more water. They're talking about your lymph nodes that need to be cleaned throughout your body. But when I was studying food and diet, they were just doing those little trampolines and then just jumping up and down cleans out your lymph nodes throughout your body.
Wow.
But chai is saying, it'll clean all this and you'll lose weight and your arms won't be flabby and your legs won't be flabby because it'll take it away. And they get down and they do their, like squats and stuff like that. But I'm not saying none of that's not good for you, but...
Well, the exercise itself is probably okay.
It's wonderful, yeah. But
yeah, but you're participating in something that mimics that ritualistic behavior.
Yeah, and it's even a foreign name, Tai Chi.
Tai Chi, yeah, they call it like it is. I mean, that's...
I should look that up, though.
That's interesting. Well, and and when it comes to the consuming of alcohol in the occult world, it is it's always used. Alcohol and even drug use, and we know that this gets into pharmakia a little bit, and some people, and not to, 300 million gods, must be hard to pray to all of them.
Chai Chi is from China.
And Reformation says the chant is actually calling on a false god, Om.
How about empty out your mind? Or what about this? The fingers, the 666 when they're trying to channel.
They go like that.
Yeah.
All of those little symbols and stuff. That's interesting. We got to be careful. We're walking through a world that's like we're walking barefoot with a world full of thumbtacks. It's pretty crazy. All right. Thine eyes shall behold strange women. Strange religion, I guess that's what that's saying. Right? Proverbs 23 right there. Now, Proverbs 31:4. Okay. You guys might know this one too. Let's go to 31:4. And it says, it is not kings. Oh, here's another one. Let me read verse 3. I always find something that's just seems to pop out whenever I look up these verses. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to which destroyeth kings. That's an interesting verse. Give not thy strength unto women. It's not the subject tonight. We got to watch out. It just makes the old gears start turning. You look at that spiritually, and it just means so much, right? The typology. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law. Remember back there in Leviticus we read? And pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. All right. So there's the use. There's actually a use for strong drink, right, in the Bible. Now, we've talked about this before. When we talk about pharmakia, there's necessary drugs, right? There's necessary pharmakia for us to take sometimes if we're sick. God has given us the opium plant to relieve the suffering if we're injured or if we're in a really bad way. I've had morphine. They gave me morphine one time. I had a headache so bad I couldn't operate. It was really bad. I've never had anything like it before or since. And they gave me morphine. It took the pain away and it relieved my suffering. And it was wonderful. And I've had operations and I've had injuries and I've been in the hospital. Most of us have. And you guys know that those drugs are very necessary, and God gave those drugs to reduce suffering of mankind and in some ways heal us as well, right? The plants, the medicinals, the things. I think coffee is a medicinal. I think it was meant to be a medicinal. And we sometimes, arguably, and I got into this conversation with somebody, the patients with Alzheimer's or dementia will respond positively to caffeine. And it's interesting that under those circumstances, I think caffeine is very useful. It's also, I'm drinking coffee right now. I don't want to be a hypocrite, okay? I wake up in the morning, I'm drinking coffee, but I'm actively trying to quit it again for the 50,000th time. I don't want to sit here and just preach to you guys and pretend like I'm just going to keep it real with you guys all the time, right? I drink coffee. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it's not okay to drink coffee. So my admission that I'm drinking coffee is not me saying that it's okay to drink coffee. Quite the opposite. I feel highly convicted when I do it. But here's how it starts. I'll get a headache, and I'll drink a cup of coffee to relieve my headache. And of course, the next day I want another cup of coffee, and that's how it all starts. I think coffee's way better for you to treat a headache than acetaminophen or Excedrin or any of the other medications that are really bad on the liver and the kidneys and stuff like that. Back pain, same thing. A cup of coffee will relieve my back pain. I get back pain really severe back pain about 3 or 4 times a year. and a cup of coffee relieves it. But then I want more the next day, and then I'm back on it, and then I got to quit it, and then I get the headaches, and then, and then I feel better, and then I'm fine in a couple months, and then, I'll back on it again. But so as a medication, it's really good. Now, if I could figure out how to medicate myself without getting hooked every single stinking time, that might be helpful. Okay, anyways, enough of that. All these, by the way, Spunky says, you're right, Lisa. It is spiritual.
It's spiritual.
Yep.
And I have a hard time because I'm always drinking coffee. But the reason why I was so down on it when at that church, I feel like I have to explain myself on this part, is because kids look up to you. And if you're doing that in front of the kids, what is that saying? Because you're kind of like the kids is God. They look up to their daddy. They look up to their mommy. And we don't have any young kids, and I didn't do it when my kids were young, but they look up to you. And if they think it's okay, it's a gateway. I noticed that when people do that, they bring in the cigarettes or the chewing afterwards. They say, no, I just want a cup of coffee. Make it a stout one. And then they're taking a big cigarette, chew.
If anybody here has ever smoked,
it brings in that, and then it brings in the alcohol. Well, I'm just going to have a couple,
Let's take a belt. After all, Jesus drank.
Got my birthday.
Jesus made wine and
the
water
next thing
into wine.
Remember Clancy's not here, but remember his ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
She said, no, I have not smoked a cigarette in 2 years. And she asked, who did she ask? She asked somebody like Levi or something.
Yeah.
And he gives her a cigarette. I go, oh, you're going to get hooked on that. You're going to be back to smoking again. It's a terrible habit. And she goes, no, I won't. No, I won't. No, I'm pretty strong. Next thing you know, she's a 2-packer now.
2-pack a day.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Reformation says caffeine helps asthma too. So
yeah. It helps with homework, headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Headaches.
These are medicines. And God's given them to us. Now, caffeine gives me a buzz now. It didn't used to. I kind of like the buzz. I hate to say it. I kind of like the buzz. And that's partly what keeps me going on it. Now, if it didn't do that to me, now years ago, it never used to do that. I used to drink it by the pot, just down it, 2 pots in the morning. Of course, that was after coming off of a drunk the night before. You drink about 2 pots of coffee, you put a big old fat chew in your mouth, you're good. You go to work.
I like Tracy's coffee or cocoa drink, but Coca has, what is that called?
Oh, they're the same compounds. It's alkaloids.
Yeah, it's alkaloids, yeah.
Yeah.
I when I get off coffee, I drink a lot of hot chocolate.
Well, I want you to think about this. Alkaloids are a particular type of it's a drug, right? It's actually considered to be a narcotic. Cocaine is a form of alkaloid, okay? Caffeine is an alkaloid, and cocoa has an alkaloid in it. Weaker, obviously. It's not a very strong alkaloid, but it's nevertheless, okay? Now, the mushroom coffee I've heard is pretty good. Yeah. They always put a little bit of caffeine in there, though, I'm afraid.
No, they don't.
Well, I've heard they have. I mean, it depends on the brand, probably. I don't know. Maybe the brand Tracy drinks, maybe it doesn't have it in there.
I was looking at the Risey.
But, all right, so enough of that. So anyways, medicines, and that goes back to pharmakia. And obviously, there's some of us that need the medicine, and we take the medicine because, our bodies are riddled with 6,000 years worth of sin. And here we are, 6,000 years later, and our vessels are not as strong as they once were. And so we have these medicines, but the same medicine that is used for healing in the hospital is used to destroy on the streets. And so we got to keep it centered and well.
You know, it's amazing how many people are addicted to coffee. It's just a bean put in a huge vat that's almost charcoalized, and you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
then of course you grind it. It's like almost completely cooked all the way through. Because you see coffee beans. They're like a red, or like a light red or a green. Then they put those in those vats, and it turns it to a dark brown, black.
Yeah.
Oils kind of come out. They almost look like little olives. And then they get real potent. And then, of course, you grind them up and you drink it. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who would ever think?
Well, and again, I mean, I think God's given us these things for medicine, but we've taken it, that sex is holy inside of a marriage. Outside of the marriage, it's not. There's context. There's contextual use of almost everything, right?
Morphine.
I think maybe even tobacco somewhere has a place in medicine. I don't know. It shouldn't be smoked like habitual, like a lot of people do, like I used to. I used to chew tobacco too. That was a nasty habit. All right, so here we go. So we are on Proverbs 31. Okay, it's not for kings or princes. Now I wanted to say something about this because here's the deal. Now, it's not for princes or for kings to drink wine, lest they pervert the judgment. Was not Jesus a prince and a king? People are telling me that Jesus drank wine. He is the prince of princes. He's the king of kings. Why would he set such a terrible example for all the kings afterwards? See, that doesn't make any sense. It says, I was a Java junkie, 2 pots by myself. God saved me from it without any side effects. Amen, Spunky.
Amen.
I had horrible side effects the first time I quit, even though, admittedly, it didn't do anything because my body was probably so dirty with other chemicals that I just didn't feel it. But I did feel the withdrawals terribly.
They're getting worse as we get older, the withdrawals. I will go literally years without drinking coffee at all, or even wanting it. And then all of a sudden I'll get a hospital job. And there, you're like, would you like some coffee? Would you like some juice? Would you
One
like
little
some
cup.
water?
Yeah, I'm just kind of falling
today
asleep here.
I have cuckoo eyes today. I think and I'm a little grumpy. So I better take some coffee. And then I'm like, hey, anyone want coffee? Oh. And then I'm distributing the stuff. But
you're pushing it.
I'm pushing it.
You're a pusher.
But then all of a sudden, or maybe it'll be like really, really cold, and our stores are a little different than everyone else's. They'll hang out inside a Conoco, right where you're checking out, and you literally have to wait for people to move. And they'll all be talking about the weather, and they'll all be talking about everything, and they'll all be drinking coffee, and they'll be like pushing it almost. Like, yeah, come in here, get myself a hot cup of coffee.
I think people, when they partake of the bean, they become talebearers.
Yeah.
They start gossiping. And I think that's a problem.
We have a McDonald's, and we have inside the Conoco, there's, what is it, Subway? And we always have a lot of older people in there, and they hang out in there and drink coffee.
Yeah, the good old boys are out there drinking their coffee.
So there'd be like 30, 40 people every day, same place, same time. Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Did we welcome Heaven Soon in? I don't remember well. Anyways, welcome Heaven Soon and happy Sabbath. And too bad people can't get hooked on prayer the way they do coffee in the morning. Amen. Wouldn't that be something? We never get hooked on good things, do we?
No, never broccoli. Never.
Yeah, unfortunately, bad habits are way more addictive than the good ones. Yeah, obviously.
Raw cocoa, organic
which is
cocoa.
bitter and more healthy than cocoa powder used for making hot chocolate. Raw cocoa is high flavanol drink that protects the heart and the brain and improves circulation. It actually is. Yeah, well, and coffee, admittedly, too, has antioxidants in it, too, and some people drink it for, it's kind of like wine, and the flavonoids in the wine but the intoxicating drink, well, the fresh grape juice contains the same stuff, but without the poison, so.
I ended up, I'll quit coffee, and then I'll end up drinking like a black tea with bergamot oil in it. It's really good, but it gives me indigestion. And then I'll try Mazola or Mazola. I think it's Mazola. It's got cardamom in it. It's got all these spices. It's a chai. A lot of people know what it is because it's always gone.
It's a powerful caffeinated drink powerful. Is what it is.
And it's got pepper in it and all kinds of stuff in it. And boy, I don't eat for a half a day. But, you just got to bite the bullet and quit. And it's so easy in the summertime because it's so hot. But wintertime comes around, you're like, oh. And then you end up falling.
Spunky says it wasn't easy until I prayed and told God, if I go through withdrawals, then so be it. So in other words, Spunky was like, she said, listen, whatever it takes, I'm ready. Just, and that's really, that's like the 3 Hebrews when they were thrown into the furnace. Look, God is able to save us, even if he doesn't. Even if we burn and we die screaming, doesn't matter. We're not going to disobey our God.
You know what's so hard is Clancy, Aaron, other people around here, they're all drinking coffee. And when I'm in my room, I have my window open, I smell the neighbor's coffee in the back.
Yeah.
And they drink some heavy duty. Like they're grinding beans. I can smell it. It's really hard for me to quit. I've been doing it ever since I was a little girl. And it's always been a thorn in my side, too. So it's really hard. I struggle with that one.
Liza says, pleasure with consequences.
Exactly.
Okay, my little grandma, who lived through the Great Depression, rarely forgot to pray over her food. We need more to be more grateful. Amen for that.
Amen.
Yes, Tai Chi is full of caffeine, but it is very flavorful.
Oh, I know.
All right, so
it is.
Let's get back to our topic here. I wanted to look up these verses. Now, Ephesians 5:18 is the one that is used to talk about that people believe it's okay to drink it. Okay, Ephesians 5:18. Let's look at that. All right, it says, and be not drunk with wine wherein excess, but be filled with the Spirit. All right? I don't know how people are able to use that verse, but that's the verse that's being used most often to say that it's okay to drink wine. In fact, it's saying the opposite. It says, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess. What is it to be drunk? If I'm buzzed, is that drunk? Do I have to be sloppy, falling down, slurring my words? I mean, it's somewhat, and it's different for one person, right? If I drank a glass of wine right now, I haven't drank in years. I'd probably be smashed with one glass. Wine is pretty powerful. I mean, it's like, what, 6%? Like 12 proof, 14 proof, something like that. I forget how that works. Spunky says, I'm a migraine sufferer, an expected one, but I didn't. Coffee is a speed effect. Barbara O'Neill shows how it affects the brain. One sip and it changes your brain. I wanted to be better for God. Well, what it does is it actually constricts your blood vessels.
It's like alcohol. It does the same thing.
The same exact thing.
Same thing. It starves your brain. That's why you get a headache when you quit alcohol or coffee, or caffeine, I should just say, blanketed caffeine.
Just caffeine, yeah, because that's tea, that's coffee,
and
that's a lot of things.
All those little
energy drinks,
little painful stabs that you feel in your head are them repairing themselves.
That's blood flow going back to your brain. Yeah. And that ought to say something right there. That migraine that we're suffering is actually our brain getting blood flow and those little capillaries enlarging. And alcohol does that too. You get that high effect because it's actually robbing your brain of oxygen. That's what gives you the high effect. Your brain is actually literally being robbed of oxygen. It's like holding your breath until you get loopy and dizzy. And Tracy says black tea with bergamot tea sounds like something the old actress Elizabeth Taylor would be endorsing or selling for $50 a cup. Okay, black and green tea has caffeine, so there it is. No matter what type of, and I heard people, well, I drink green tea, okay. Well, it still has caffeine. I mean, why not let's get rid of it all? I know people who used to drink Postum instead of coffee, and that's not bad.
I like it.
Yeah, Postum is gross. I like it. It's a beanie, kind of a flavor, it gives you that little coffee thing. I don't really drink coffee for the taste. I don't like the taste of coffee. I'll put all kinds of stuff in it, and I'm kind of like my dad. My dad he drank it for the effect, and people used to get grossed out, but it's like, what? But he would take a cup of cold water and he would just shake some instant coffee in there, give it a spin, and down the hatch. He drank warm beer too, so that tells you something about my dad.
Well, he just drank it for the effects.
That's what he did. And he didn't care what it tasted like. It was just a drug. Boom, down the hatch. All right, I like mocha or Tashino tea, all herbs and nuts. Yeah, well, and there's a lot of great teas out there, right? And if you drink wine and hard alcohol, you're more likely to vomit the wine before you do the hard stuff. Listen, all of that stuff has an ill effect on the mind, on our judgment, on everything that we do. Now our bodies are now the temple of the Lord, right? The priests in the old days were commanded not to drink before they went into the temple service, right? In the New Testament, now we're told that our bodies are the temple of the Lord. Think about that. Are we going to now be partaking of the wine? And Ephesians, be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, and be filled with the Spirit. That supports what I'm saying, but people use it. I don't know. I don't see what they're saying. Drunk with the cares of this world, sidetracked, or obsessed with anything else than God. Well, if it does the same thing as alcohol, why would you drink?
That's right.
So that's the point. Deprivation of oxygen is the same as separation from God. Yeah, when the mind shuts down, we can't glorify God, can we? When our mind is compromised, we're a different person. Our mind are not on holy things, it's on pleasure. Because that does. It will hit the pleasure nodes in our mind.
You ever think about you got to get up, in the morning and I don't know if you pray right off the bat, but I'm sure a lot of people
usually
you usually want to get up and make coffee to wake up because we got to go to work, so we have so much we have to load up and unload out of our truck, and so we get up and we get busy right away, and we want that coffee. We're getting aches and pains. And then later on, I might put some, I listen to books in my ears while I'm sweeping and cleaning and hauling stuff. But, it's kind of hard to get up and have that initial walk with God. And then of course, you put the sin in your body, and then, it ruins your day. Not the whole day, but it kind of ruins your mind a little bit. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, so we're going to go to Matthew 23:24. We're going to look at this just real quick here, because the straining of the gnats and the swallowing of the camel, and then we're going to go to Revelation. We're running out of time, aren't we? Okay, so Matthew 23:24. Let's take a look at that real quick. Ooh, don't tell me that, Lisa. All right, so it says that, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you make clean the outside of the cup of the platter, but within they are full of extortion, and excess. All right, and it goes on and on and on. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, for you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outwards, but are within full of dead man's bones and full of uncleanness. All right, so the straining of the gnat. Now, check this out. We are talking about people who would pay their tithe of mint and anise and cumin. These are petty tithes, right? And have omitted the weightier matters of the law, which is judgment and mercy and faith. The weightier matters of the law. Would the 10 Commandments be under the weightier matters of the law? Just a question. The paying of the tithe with mint and anise and cumin, I don't even think those are particularly valuable spices. The valuable spices were the ones that Magdalene used to anoint Jesus' head and filled the whole room with aroma. It cost a huge sum of money.
Was that the same spices that were offered when he was a baby?
Possibly, yeah.
Frankincense and
myrrh. And yeah, those were the expensive ones. Those were costly.
Look at my little babies.
Oh,
look at my little tiny chickens.
How many you got in there?
I got 3. But look how tiny they are. You could barely even see them. So small. These are little silkies. So cute. Gonna crap all over me.
I like this one that Heaven Soon says. My parents said our knees should hit the floor before our feet do. Amen.
Amen. That's
Spikenard.
Right.
Spikenard's another one. Yeah. And so how valuable is mint? We grow mint in our backyard. It's everywhere. Anise is everywhere. Cumin grows like a weed. Mm-hmm. That's what they paid their tithes with, is cheap herbs.
Not cheap.
Yes, cheap. Mint.
Mint
is cheap. It was cheap then. It's easy to grow. You're growing it outside right now.
It's not cheap, though.
You compare that to frankincense or myrrh or spikenard, right. Some of these other ones that were very expensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, it's like comparing oregano to saffron.
Okay, yeah. Okay? Saffron's very nice.
So they're paying it with oregano. And here comes Mary Magdalene with a big bag of saffron, to anoint Jesus with the most expensive of what she had. Now, what it's saying here is they're not giving their best. They're giving the least that they have to.
I see. Kind of like the lambs they were bringing. They were sickly. And different stuff that they were supposed to be sacrificing.
Yeah, offers. That's the point. Yeah. They were supposed to bring the very best, the very most costly. This was the appropriate sacrifice, what the most that they could afford. Now, when Magdalene, she brought her spices to Jesus, that was a significant amount of money because one of the disciples, the one, probably Judas, made a comment. He said, look, this could have been sold and given to the poor.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Jesus rebuked him. He says, you have no idea what she's done here because you're not paying attention.
And they're like, you don't know who she is. She's a bad person.
She's a bad person.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to Jesus. In fact, she was no worse or better than anyone else in the room. But she loved much, therefore she received much. And that was the point. And also that, her offering was greater than that of the Pharisees, which were minimal. They were minimal payments of tithes, right? Mm-hmm. 1/10 of your mint. Oh, give me a break. Mint grows like a weed. 1/10 of your anise or your cumin. Give me a break. It's a weed. But have omitted the weightier matters of the law. That's why he said, you blind guys would strain a gnat and swallow the camel. You guys are gorping down huge quantities of unclean food, but you're going to make a show, an outward show, by going out and straining the unclean gnats from the water before you drink it. That's such a perfect example of what Christians are doing now. They are offering the very least of what they have. They are breaking God's law and trampling all over it. They're committing adultery. They're breaking the Sabbath. They're coveting their neighbor's everything. They are disrespectful to their parents, disobedient, backbiters, haters, truce breakers. They're drunkards at that. What are they giving God? They're giving God nothing. And they go over there on the wrong day of the week and they offer this omniscience to God, a fake one at that, where they go home directly after and turn on the TV. Give me a break. Give me a break. And we are being accused of straining gnats for keeping the Sabbath. This should be outrageous. It is outrageous. It should be more outrageous. And it needs to be completely, I get real personal. I got to stop myself from this because I read some of these comments and I lose my mind. I'm like, wow, the ignorance of people is outrageous. I have peppermint and chocolate mint growing in my backyard.
I never heard of that. The chocolate mint?
Yeah, the chocolate mint.
And she wants orange mint.
I want to get some orange mint.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Judas is concerned with the spices. Judas controlled the money bag and wanted to steal that money. He didn't care about the spices. That's true. That's true. He didn't. All he cared about is what they were worth. He didn't care about Jesus. See, Judas's response should have said, Jesus, just because he's dressed in ordinary garb, just because he had nothing outwardly that would attract men unto him, just because he wasn't sitting on a throne with a throng of servants serving him day and night on this earth. See, Jesus, in that sense, wasn't making an outward show, whereas the Pharisees were. Jesus was indeed the King of Kings and the Prince of Princes, and that ointment, would Judas have complained if they went to before a mighty king of this earth? If Solomon would have had ointment put on his head, no one would have dared say a word. But here Judas is, one who is much higher than Solomon. He had the nerve to think it in his mind. He had the nerve to do that because he did not respect who Jesus was. All right? Great lesson for all of us, because sometimes we think we're putting too much into Jesus. We get criticized for, some people have sold their homes and given all to God. Some have given everything and they've been criticized for it. The church does what it does with the monies, but I promise you their reward is sure. When you give it all for Jesus, I'm not telling people to sell their houses. That's, again, contextual. Some people are not called to do those things. Some people are. If you're being called to do that, be faithful and do just that. But if you're not being called, don't do it. And don't make it up in your own mind either. Because we do that stuff all the time. We think that we have to, offer these sacrifices when God's not calling for them. There's a lot of lessons. As Christians, we really need to learn these things, the weightier matters of the law. You can 9 times out of 10, just offering your body as a sacrifice to God. In other words, saying, Lord, what will you have me to do today? I mean, you go to your job, right? But if you offer yourself a living sacrifice, then when you go to job, there's people there that are lost. There's people on the streets. There's people in the grocery market. There's people everywhere. Everybody's lost. This whole world is lost, and we need to put ourselves actively in service to him. We can just offer ourselves. That's really all he wants. He doesn't want our money. He doesn't want, some of us have to give money. All of us are required to give money, at least a tenth. Some are even required more. Anyways, that's another subject. Okay. If the garb was ordinary, then they wouldn't have been so concerned with not tearing it and ripping it. And therefore, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, well, it was a very expensive garment, but he wasn't dressed in the robe of heaven. You understand what I'm saying? Like he didn't come down with the glory of God. He came down with ordinary man-like appearances, and didn't look above average. I mean, we talked about this before, but you're right. It was very expensive, and that was probably the most expensive thing Jesus. Well, it was, without a doubt. And then you have the church who takes it too far, and is advertising a state planning to make sure they get their cut of your. Well, that's another story, right? I mean, when they start mandating that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with that, and it's right. I mean, listen, I'm kind of got a little bone to pick with the church right now, and I'm not happy, and I hope I get over it, and I hope God can put me back on the center path again. But I'm not happy with the way things are going. How can you be? And the church is so worried about being criticized right now. Oh, we don't support independent ministries because they might criticize us. Oh, for crying out loud. What are you scared of? If you're walking a straight path, you're not afraid of the critics. It's when you're not walking a straight path that you're afraid of the critics. Am I right? You were going to say something, Lisa.
And yes, Monique, I have. I haven't had it with feta cheese on it, but I'm going to try that. Doesn't that sound great?
What?
Watermelon, peppermint leaves, and feta cheese. I have done the watermelon.
Are you talking about real watermelon?
Mm-hmm. You've eaten it.
Watermelon with peppermint leaves and feta cheese?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
You girls are crazy.
Yeah, and someone put cucumbers, real thin cucumber pieces in there. It was pretty good.
With watermelon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good.
I'll try it.
You have.
Okay, so we're going to try that.
5 minutes after.
We'll be back to report.
Well, with the feta cheese on there, we never done that one.
Now, I got to admit, my wife never ceases to amaze me. You know, she knew where all the great fishing spots were at today. So, Now, okay.
What I was going to say is when you have 3 boys, and you don't just have 3 boys, you have 3 boys and the whole neighborhood, and you got to drive them around. And that's the only reason why I know all the fishing spots. Carrie's like, no, we're not to go in there. I said, yes, you can go in there. No, yes. Just says close the gate. That's all it says.
Yeah, that's what it said. I read it.
And then he, of course, went in there. But the other place was Logan Trident, and Carrie he's never been there. So
that was fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. We're going to go back.
Then he left his gear behind.
Oh, my goodness.
Almost gave us a fright.
Almost had a heart attack.
Every fly that you buy, and we have the Sims here, which is the ones that make the waders and the boots and all that stuff. Their companies right here in town. So everything is Sims. Every little fly that they make is $5.
Yeah, I only bought a few there, but
all the flies are at least $4. $5.
Yeah, I know. I never walk out of a fly shop with less than $25 spent because I got to have all the latest flies, and it doesn't improve my fishing skills.
Ooh, poppy seed and dressing too.
Now, see, I can get behind the poppy seed dressing. That is good. In fact, poppy seed dressing for the coleslaw.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. Well, I wanted Carrie to film this year our garden.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we might do that.
So, yeah, we are going to do that. I have invested quite a bit on the garden because the way the war looks and food prices are gone up, everything gets shipped over here. We do have farms and stuff over here that grow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
greenhouses and stuff. But I notice everyone's down there this year to get the vegetables that are growing and at Cashman's. So I think a lot of people are going to be doing their gardens this year.
I think so.
And I got my little chickies because we got a bunch of people that'll say, "Oh, I have chickens. Oh, I can't wait for you to come and buy them from me." Then I'll buy some, and then I'll try to get in touch with them, and I'm ringing them off the hook. Yeah, no, I guess no eggs this week. And then they'll call me. Did you call me? They're all grouchy or something. I'm out of town. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So then there's 2 weeks without eggs. Terrible. I don't know.
My wife
So I'm just going to definitely have my own chickies. These 3 here are silkies.
Look at them try to snuggle up to you.
I don't think they could see. But
Put them right in front of the camera.
I don't know.
They can see it.
They're probably crapping on me.
They can see it. We still have snowbanks that are 10 feet high here.
Oh, no.
Well, you know, she's
Canada.
Yeah, Monique's up in Canada right there. She's our Canadian neighbor. And I know that Libby, Montana, got a lot of moisture. They flooded, which is crazy because they let so much water out of the dam that it floods. You know, and I know you can't let the dam overflow, but where's the planners? How come they didn't let enough water out of the dam this year to make up for, possible, large amount of rain? I don't understand how they can't do that, but they flooded the town twice. Pretty crazy, huh? Hey, let's go to Revelation real quick here because we were going to do that. We haven't done that. And there's so much more to talk about here. Now, oh man, there's so many verses. And when you read the entirety of it, it really starts sinking in. Now, I think Revelation 14, let's go there real quick. Let's just read a little bit about Revelation because, it hardly ever does. And by the way, if you read about the patriarchs who drank wine, you go from Noah. We talked about that already.
He was uncovered.
And
you got Lot's daughters.
And, 2 nations that were essentially enemies of God came out of that. I mean, the daughters got their father drunk and, yeah, they had kids by him. That's not cool. And so there's, and then you talk about, when John the Baptist lost his head, the king was drinking wine.
Oh, yeah.
Then the daughter was brought before him to dance. And it goes on and on. And so there's all of these situations that they're put into. Now, let's go to Revelation 14 because we're going to talk about it says, and there followed, in verse 8, we're talking about the 3 angels' message here, Revelation 14, of course, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, of course, this is the intoxicating drink. It's not the new wine. Jesus says that he was going to drink the new wine with us in heaven, right? The new wine is a symbol for God's pure doctrine. The intoxicating drink, of course, is a symbol here for the false doctrines. And it tells us not to be, and the same, okay, here's another mention of wine. And this is where I was curious about which wine is being mentioned here. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So that is verse 14:10. Let's look in the, okay, so 14:10, that is 36:31. And I have in the Greek, and I have a suspicion that is 36:31. It's oinos, okay? So that's just a primary. That's the generic version, which could be, and that's where things get a little bit messy in the New Testament because it interchanges new with old, doesn't make a distinction. But in the Greek, I guess in the Greek, there is no distinction apparently between the old wine and the new wine. It's just juice. It's probably just saying juice, something along those lines.
Samson.
Samson is another one. He was commanded not to drink wine.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, because he was a judge. Mm-hmm. And he took the Nazirite vow. Now, the Nazirite vow, and I haven't proved this yet, but I think it had something to do with typology as well, because Jesus was a judge and he was also a mighty king. Now, the judges were commanded, and the priests as well, to not drink wine. So were princes and so were kings. And so there was lots of examples of people that were specifically told not to drink wine to pervert their judgment. And of course we just looked where, how we're, priests, we're a nation of priests that dwell on this earth, right? We're told that in the Bible. We're also the temple of the Lord, and they weren't to go and drink wine before they went into the temple of the Lord. I mean, it's all there, and it makes sense, right? We have a lot of snowbanks too, really hard to see around. We also got more ice storm. And I find that absolutely incredible, because
we're drying up over here.
We're completely dry here. Well, and just north of us, we're not dry.
Oh yeah, just a little up north, just like 4 hours up from us, and it's flooding out. It's going across the roads and stuff, washing everything, bridges out and stuff. Isn't that weird? He's engulfed in reading.
No, I'm listening to you too, believe it or not. It is
multitasking.
Well, I've done that my whole life. I listen to multiple conversations, and when I go into a room of people, I'll be talking to somebody and listening to, and I don't know why I do it, but I do it. And I'll listen to everybody's conversation simultaneously while I'm talking. That's the only multitasking I'm able to do. And it depends on how focused I am on the conversation I'm at. If I'm really engrossed in it, then I won't be listening to people around me. But if I'm not so much, then I just start automatically tuning into everybody else, and still able to keep up the conversation with whoever I'm talking to. So, I guess it's my autistic gift. Yeah. Did you know I had a superpower? Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're overtime.
Yes, we are. All right, folks. Well, listen, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And we hope you guys have a happy Sabbath. Of course, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock in the a.m. Mountain Time. East Coast, that would be 11 o'clock. West Coast, that would be 8 o'clock. Central Time, that's 10 o'clock. Okay. So West Coast, 8 o'clock. Mountain Time, 9 o'clock. Central Time, 11 o'clock. Hang on.
I think it was 11.
8 o'clock. See, this is where I mess up and I get everybody confused. Pacific Time, 8 o'clock. Mountain Time, 9 o'clock. Central Time, 10 o'clock. East Coast, 11 o'clock. So, all right. Anyways, you guys have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. God bless you guys.